What's up, chum? Sharkie here, and welcome back to the Shark Bites podcast. I'm here with Vesper Starwolf today, and we're going to be talking about the Book of Enoch.
Hello, everyone. I'm Vesper Starwolf, as you know. So first off, my credentials is I'm a practicing occultist and pagan for a little over 5 years now, and today we're going to be talking about uh, something I'm a little bit passionate about, the Book of Enoch.
Only a little bit.
Only a little bit. You might have to rein me in if I start going off on my little tangents, but yeah. So for anyone who doesn't know, the Book of Enoch is a what would you call it? A biblical text.
I think it's called one of the Gnostic Gospels, if I'm not mistaken, where it was omitted from like the canon of the Bible.
Yeah, because while I'm more of an expert on like Enoch and stuff, I'm not quite sure of the rest of the biblical canon and stuff, so I wasn't sure what you would label it as. But yeah, it actually is a text that dates around the like first and second centuries, I believe, before Christ. And it was actually once held in pretty great reverence by the church leaders because overall it looks upon the character of Enoch as a witness who did ascend to heaven, but by the end of the 4th century they started seeing it more heretical, and it was condemned by the Orthodox Christians, and it vanished from the mainstream by 500 AD. It only survived because of Ethiopian Christians, because they
Yeah,
still saw. Hmm?
that's what I was gonna mention. Is like that's the only
Yeah.
way that I know about it because I've actually read sections of the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible, which I think is it not like the oldest or one of the oldest Bibles out there?
Um, to my knowledge, you would probably know a lot more about that than
Really?
me. Uh, what, the Ethiopian Christian stuff, or?
let me look it up because I'm actually
Okay.
curious.
Because I know the, like, Jewish Bible, it's like the most accurately translated biblical text, and I have heard people say, like, if you want an accurate Bible translation, to read the specifically Jewish Bible.
It's definitely not the King James version, guys. That is not the
That
oldest one or the most accurate.
that I do know for
I
fact.
I've heard so many people say like, "Oh, that one's like the most accurate." I'm like, "No, it's not."
No, it's not. It is biased as all hell.
All right. So, other than like the Torah, the Ethiopian Bible is the oldest and most complete Bible. Um,
Okay.
it was written in an ancient language that's actually a dead language now,
Okay, yeah. See,
and
I
it's
should have wrote that.
actually
I should have wrote that down in my notes. I feel like I read a little bit about that.
it's actually 800 years older than the King James Bible. So
There you have it.
there you go.
Boom. But yeah, so it let's see. But yeah, it did, but it was because of the Ethiopian Christians that it survived. And though it kind of like went more underground, and it was discovered again like 1300 years later or so. But that's like a topic that kind of haunts me, because imagine all the books and stuff that were lost to time and we just don't know about anymore.
Oh, I know. Like we only have what we've found. Like there
I
could be
know.
so much more.
Like like how like the Dead Sea Scrolls, they basically just found those in caves, like pieces of it, and it just stuff like that just haunts me.
Yeah. Well,
And
and
like I'm hmm,
the scrolls that they found aren't even complete. Like
yeah,
there's
yeah, that's
pieces
the thing.
missing.
Yeah, like so much of it is just like this is what we think is going on, and like just puzzle piecing literal like history artifacts just because we just don't know and things were destroyed. But and there's probably so much more to the stuff that we just don't even know and everything.
So was the Book of Enoch like how was it written down? Was it just like was it part of something else originally or just was it a scroll or like how'd they find it?
Um, they might have it. It might have been like on various like tablets, because the actual book, quote unquote, Book of Enoch is like what's written down today is like a combination of five separate books. So I'm not even quite
Oh,
sure. I'm not even quite sure if those were originally a part of the same thing, but I guess they're all considered the Book of Enoch because, again, they're quote unquote considered to be written by the character of Enoch, which I do want to say I'm not a literalist, so I don't, even though in context of talking about the mythos and books, I'll talk as if they happened, but I don't actually believe like the flood and everything happened, of course.
gotcha.
But
Yeah, me neither,
yeah.
honestly. Because
But
we don't have like actual proof that it happened.
yeah. And like in context of speaking about the books, I will speak as if they did happen, but I do not actually believe they did. I just want to make that clear.
Gotcha. So it's kind of like in the New Testament where they have like a collection of letters or like a collection of writings supposedly written by the person who
The
the book is
guy.
named
Yeah.
after. Yeah.
Yeah, because Enoch was a descendant of Adam. Uh I think he was like Noah's uncle or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And he supposedly got a tour of heaven.
Oh,
Yeah. So it was like he was like
VIP.
he's yeah, yeah. He was like ascended by God. And which I think that might be another reason why it's considered like heretical. They're like we can't have more like we can't have a lot of dudes just get, getting to go up there.
Teleporting to heaven.
Yeah. But yeah, and like the first book, in the Book of Enoch is probably the one we'll be discussing the most today, which is the title, the Book of Enoch. It is also called the Book of the Watchers
Okay.
by some
Interesting.
people. But
Interesting. Go
yeah.
ahead.
So how should we do this? Should I list off each one and then we go over them, or should I just like start talking about like the first one and then I don't think the other ones have really much to discuss, honestly.
Okay. Just however you feel comfortable.
Hmm. Okay, so well, I mentioned the first is the Book of Enoch slash the Watchers. The second is the Parables, which is basically Enoch's tour through heaven, and it's talking a lot about like judgment and stuff. Stuff
Like
that I'm
like revelation kind of things.
slightly. It's talking about like, yeah, I would say mentions like the Lake of Fire-esque type stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the third one is interesting. It's the Heavenly Luminaries, which is actually teaching about astronomy.
Cool.
So it's talking about like the different astral or like space bodies and stuff, which I think it's interesting, like if that's what you're like wanting to focus on. Because I do think a lot of the more ancient uh, biblical texts were a lot more open about science and like astronomy and stuff, but nowadays it's considered a no-no.
Yeah, wasn't and this is just like things that I've read or heard or whatever, but isn't there like a passage in there that's talking about um I guess the watchers or like these angels that like came to earth and they taught like the Egyptians math and like science and technology and stuff, but like people thought they were aliens, like some people believe that they're like extraterrestrials or whatever.
Okay, so because we'll get into the Watchers now. So
Okay. I didn't know if I was
on
like if I was jumping the shark a little bit too far ahead, but
okay, so that is a belief, and me and Ree kind of make fun of people who believe this because it's this weird occult. There is a prevalent occult. Um, it's always like the people you kind of want to avoid.
like conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, it lends into like the conspiracy theorist side of things. Because
Okay.
I swear, like a lot of the people who start having like really outlandish ideas, they do kind of believe the Watchers were aliens. I kind of avoid them and that idea because it is a little out there. I do believe in like aliens, but I don't know. Their way of going about things is just very bizarre to me.
Okay.
Um,
I wasn't sure. That's only been like what I've some of what I've heard or read about it, so
yeah, it is a belief, I will say. I always tell Ree, I was like, if I start going off the deep end talking about talking about aliens and like doing that kind of stuff, I'm like, just let me know. Let me know if I'm losing it.
okay.
Um, but yeah, I will mention since you didn't bring it up because in my practice with working with spirits, I have a connected with the Watchers and especially their leader Samyaza. I really like the Watchers and um but yeah, pretty much what you said is right though. They were angels that were tasked by God to watch over humanity and humans, and they ended up supposedly teaching people about alchemy, astronomy, and like
Mhm.
herb use and stuff. And then very famously, the Watcher Azazel or Azazel, however you want to pronounce it, he basically taught the swords. He basically taught weaponry and like how to use swords and stuff. Also,
War or
he
just like weapons in general?
um a lot of people will say like they brought war, but specifically I do know he just taught them about swordcraft and like weaponry. He also taught women about makeup.
Oh, okay.
So in the biblical text we do have Azazel to thank for makeup, face paint.
Face paint.
But yeah, so essentially, so that was going on. But then, so the Watchers started noticing something about the human women. They started seeing those human women, and they're like, you
Ah,
know what?
yes.
That That's kind of nice.
I do remember reading about some of that, like, supposedly that was, like, the reason God flooded the earth, like, it wasn't just that people were, quote, unquote, "wicked," as it says, but, like, they were breeding with angels or whatever.
Yeah, so yeah, because I think they since they, banned the Book of Enoch, they kind of changed the modern interpretation of why God flooded the earth, which like you said to be like everyone was wicked.
Which is so weird. Like the way that it reads, because they've taken that book out, it removes the context and it just kind of makes, it doesn't like give a reason. It's just like, oh, well, he just, he killed everybody. It's like,
He
it's
did
just
it
bad.
he did
It's
he did it
bad
for the
writing.
bit.
It's a
Yeah,
bad plot.
me me a writer, man, I don't know, the Bible has so many plot holes.
I know. There's so many gaps that, like, because they've removed so much, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, so essentially, the Watchers, they saw those women and they're like, that's kind of nice. So they met up on Mount Hermon, which is very integral to like this book area type it happened at. But they met up on the top of Mount Hermon, and Shimyaza's like, if we're gonna do this, if we're gonna, take wives among the daughters of men, I'm gonna get the blame, because he was like, the Watchers had like 10 leaders overall because there's like 200 of them, but their main leader was the angel Samyaza, and very interestingly is in some contexts he's considered like the original like fallen angel, which is very interesting to know about.
Wait, who?
His name is Samyaza.
Oh, I've never heard that before as being
Yeah,
like the original fallen angel.
yeah, yeah, he because he originates in the Book of Enoch, pretty much.
Oh, that's why. That's exactly why.
Yeah. So he was like, "Hey, if we do this, I'm gonna take the blame because I'm like your guys' leader. I'm supposed to be the one in charge of everyone overall." And so the other Watchers were like, "We'll take an oath that if we are to be punished, we'll all get punished because they're a tight knit group of dudes, I suppose."
The bro code.
The bro code. Yes, the Watchers had their own bro code, I guess. So they did end up taking human wives, and they did even like canonical to the Book of Enoch, they did procreate with women, and they so in media the term for an angel human hybrid is Nephilim. It's a pretty well known term and everything, but it was never actually like an official term.
Oh, I didn't know that
Yeah,
either.
yeah. So they're mostly just called giant.
Okay. So
Cause
like David and Goliath.
yeah. Except I did the math on it. It's in my other notes, but they were like they grew to be like a few 100 feet tall, I think. So
Yeah,
they were like giants.
I've heard that and I'm just like, hmm. Like how does that work?
Yeah, it's like so. And initially, because there is another book, I have not read it yet, but it is called the Book of Giants, which I believe is another banned, removed text, which is kind of like the aftermath or something. Again, I haven't read it yet, but I think it goes more into that because what I know of the giants is that initially God was like, "Yeah, I'll just leave them be and see how they behave, but I'm going to punish the angels that created them." So a lot of the watchers were stuck put into a hole in the ground.
Wow.
Huh?
I said wow.
I know. So their punishment, and I guess they did feel bad, you know. They didn't apologize, but God's like, "Nah, you're gonna stay in this hole in the ground while I kill your wives and children."
I find it so
um,
interesting that like in modern, I'm talking like what I grew up with, so like the ESV, English Standard Version, NIV, it doesn't really talk about angels like at all. Like throughout even like the Old Testament and the New Testament, it just
that is my
barely
yeah. Sorry,
touches on it.
continue. Yeah, that's
Um,
my biggest like pet peeve with like the biblical text because I think the angel stuff is so interesting,
me
but
too.
you really have to go into like looking into like Judaism and like the Jewish religion to see more about angels because a lot of the angels like Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael originate in Judaism.
Yeah, like all that I know about them are like from Catholic texts and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, like I think Catholicism is like pretty much the main branch of like Christianity that kept the angels
Hmm.
heavily around. But yeah, that is also something I've been like really intrigued by because I've seen so many um there'll be straight up Christians that's like, If you're honoring angels, no, you're not. That's the devil."
Yeah, I just briefly I want to mention just my experience growing up like in a non-denominational church.
Oh
Um
yeah, sure.
we honestly really only talked about angels in the context of like, like the birth of Jesus, so like Gabriel like coming to Mary and Joseph and stuff, or
hmm
what's the other big one?
An angel did appear to was it Abraham before he killed his son?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that was another big one. So just like the I guess the main ones were like Gabriel and then like some unnamed angels cuz there's like,
Yeah.
like Sodom and Gomorrah when it talks
Yeah.
about the angels that came to Lot, they don't name them in the Bible. Like it's
Yeah, they're
just
just a couple of
a
dudes.
couple of dudes being bros. But yeah. But it's just very strange because like you consider, you know, Ethiopian texts, but also like Catholic texts, they talk about angels a lot. They even like
Mhm.
pray to them as like saints and stuff. So it's like, which I know you know, but like to me, that's like
Yeah.
a whole new thing because I never
Yeah.
was raised
And
like that.
like when I was born, because my family's Catholic. When I was born, I'm looking at it now because I still have it hanging on the wall. They gave us like this. It's called a called a pocket angel. It's basically a penny that has an angel cut out of it, and it said I need to have it in my pocket in order to get to heaven.
It's your
There's a
fare, a
my
gate fee.
fare. It's my gate fee. But I don't know, I've always had like kept it even though I'm not necessarily I dropped something. Even though I'm not necessarily Catholic myself. And the angel on it has a horn, so I guess it's Gabriel, who I've always kind of vibed with.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then there's like because I feel like the ones you hear most about are like Michael and Gabriel, and like Raphael too, but I've noticed like a lot of like Christians, unless they're Catholic, they don't really acknowledge Raphael either.
Nope. I mean, we never did. It was mostly just Gabriel. He was like the main
Yeah.
one. Not even
Like,
Michael. Like I
really?
didn't
That
yeah. I didn't even know actually about Michael the Archangel until I met you, actually.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
I've always considered him like the main dude, but he's very like prevalent and important in Catholicism, so that might be why.
Yeah, yeah, like I mean, my husband was raised Catholic, so like he's told me some stuff, but I've
Mhm.
never like gone in depth until like, my deconstruction and I started like wanting to know more about like other Christian religions and stuff. So,
Yeah. And don't even get me started on Uriel because he's like supposed to be like the fourth archangel and you never hear about him. I don't even think he's really mentioned that much in Catholicism.
nope. I don't think so. I've never heard of them either.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's like Jophiel, who again we're getting a little off topic, but then there's also Jophiel, who after Lucifer was banished, kind of took over his jobs, which you don't hear about either.
We need like a Pokédex of all the angels and demons.
Well, I actually have an encyclopedia of angels. I'll have to send you the link. I think you'd really like that.
Please do. I'm very interested.
Yeah, it's like a dictionary, so it has them all listed and stuff. I also have a dictionary of demons, which is a lot thicker, actually. But yeah, I'll send you a link. I didn't think, yeah, I forgot about that, but I think you'd really like that.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm very fascinated. Like I love demons. That's where my heart's at. But I also am just so fascinated with angels.
Hey kids, you like demons?
Y'all want to buy some witchcraft?
What? Okay, what were we talking about earlier?
uh, I was talking about the Watchers getting punished.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, and Shamyaza being like initially considered like the original like fallen angel.
before Lucifer.
Yeah, because so I'll talk on that because that was something I wanted to speak of. So
Sure.
initially, the original like quote unquote dark, an original like quote unquote dark angel was in Judaism you have Samael,
Hmm.
which a lot of people conflate with Lucifer nowadays, but he was never actually like a fallen angel.
Isn't that
Um,
like Satan's actual name?
kind of, but not really.
Oh.
I mean, so initially the word Satan comes from Ha Satan, which just means like the accused one or the accusatory one, basically the adversary. Um, it was given to Samael a lot because he was very antagonistic, but like God still kept him around even though he was a problem
Hmm.
because I the best way I can put it is he was kind of like God's hitman.
Oh, okay.
But he was never actually like a fallen angel. He's still actually considered to be like an archangel in a way. But so Samyaza in the Book of Enoch is kind of where we get the idea, and the other Watchers is kind of where we get this idea of fallen angels. And there is speculation that that might have been actually like the inspiration for like the idea behind Lucifer having an angel rebelling and then falling. But the Watchers never actually became like demons. They were just punished and like they became fallen but not demonic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know there's like a lot of misconceptions about that. I hear a lot of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. So a lot of the Watchers were punished and put into a hole in the ground. Azazel was bound. by, I believe, Raphael, and he was like stuck in a desert. He was put into a desert for some reason.
Okay.
And yeah, and they say there is, because there's like various mythos of like what the text says, and then other like kind of like how things kind of branch off, and there you get different like lore about the same idea type of thing.
I before we started this, I did a little bit of uh loose research, shall we call it, um, on the Ars Goetia, which
Oh yeah.
yeah, I know you're very passionate about that too. Um, I'm a little confused on where the names come from. Like, let me hold on, let me get my thoughts together. Like, okay, so in the Ars Goetia, like it names all these different demons, but I'm like, are these like
Seven,
connected to Judaism? Are they like their own thing?
72 dudes. um yes and no. So it's very, so the Ars Goetia from the quote unquote Key of Solomon, it's not as old as a text as people try and make it out believe, or make it out to be.
Yeah,
Um some of the some of the demon names do come from Judaism and other kind of lore places. It's another thing of like demonizing like pagan deities and just that kind of thing. Some of them
yeah.
come from the Testament of Solomon, which is another text. Um and then I believe some of them might have just, it's very unclear where a lot of the names originate from, cuz it is like an old text, but
Hmm.
it's one of those ones where there's not a whole lot of information about like the origins of it are.
I have heard that like it has nothing to do with the biblical Solomon. Is that true? Or do you know anything about that? Like
Um,
it's not the biblical Solomon, I don't think.
yeah, that I haven't. Hmm. Yeah, I'm not as versed on that because I always just did assume it was the biblical Solomon.
I'm gonna look it up real quick because I'm actually curious.
Yeah,
But go
I
ahead.
mean, like the actual key, the lesser and greater keys of Solomon were not actually written by actual Solomon. I would
Yeah,
like,
maybe that
if
was it.
we're gonna use like terms, I would say it's very like fan fiction-y type of, or more so it's like based off of biblical Solomon
It
stuff.
sounds like it's in name only because I
Yeah,
am looking
yeah,
it up. It's like it has been falsely linked to the biblical King Solomon, but it has nothing to do with him actually.
yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Um, yeah, because in from the lesser and greater keys of Solomon, we have this idea of Solomon being do- like a quote unquote, because I do, I don't like the guy of how they portray him in this way, but they have him portrayed as like this master of like ceremonial magic and stuff, able to bind demons and
Hmm.
make them work for him type thing. But I am aware that like biblically they've never mentioned that.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That's why I
even that
wondered.
of it, yeah, even that of itself probably would have been considered like heretical because I know
Oh,
in Christianity,
definitely.
it's very against actually like using magic to work with or like force demons to do your bidding.
Yeah. Like I'm sure I know that there are like certain verses like condemning witchcraft and stuff, but um which is kind of funny because like back then when they were trying to like convert people to Christianity, like Christian magic was very much a thing and is. I think
Mhm.
it still
Mhm.
is. But like there's so much and I'm sure you know this too, like in Catholicism there's so much like mysticism, like
Mhm.
Christian mysticism, but yet they like poo poo on witchcraft and it's like you guys literally do like the same stuff. Like what do you mean? Or you believe in like similar things.
Yeah. Best for me, but not for thee.
Right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, like that is a thing because like me and Ree have talked about it before because Ree has told me because she's also done her research on this kind of stuff and she's mentioned before like the older texts even have like um different like rituals and stuff you can perform like if you can
Mhm.
find like those translations but like old biblical texts really are dripping with like mysticism and stuff.
They really are. I was actually reading I can't remember which book it's in. I think it's in Numbers possibly. But it's actually a verse that's a recipe for basically an abortion. Um
Oh.
yeah, let me see if I can find it. I won't read it like word for word, but it was very like ritualistic, and I was like, this is kind of witchy, honestly.
Yeah.
But it was
Yeah.
like it was a religious leader performing the ritual.
Mhm.
But
And a lot
yeah,
of like ceremonial because I don't perform like the ceremonial like witchcraft, but even though that kind of tries to lean away from like the Abrahamic faiths, it still leans a lot onto the biblical stuff because it still calls upon like the name of God and angels and stuff.
yeah, it's like it's talking about like a curse or something like infidelity curse.
Curse you with infidelity.
I'm gonna send it to you just so you can look at it at your own time
Yeah.
whenever.
Yeah, yeah, I'm very interested.
But when I read it, I was like,
Wait a
hmm.
minute. Yeah. Be like, "Hmm."
It's called the title of the passage. It's Numbers 5:11 is where it starts, and it's called the test for an unfaithful wife.
Oh, wait, I think I wonder if I've heard this. I recently read a, book called the Book of Abrammelin the Mage, I believe, which is another, like, older text. It's not, like, biblical or anything. It's considered to be like an old grimoire. But I recently read it and there are a lot of like rituals like that in there.
Yeah,
See,
it's
the
kind of
thing that's
long, so you
yeah,
don't have to read it now, but go ahead.
all right.
Sorry.
But the thing yeah, and like the thing that's interesting of like that is a lot of the old grimoires also they're not like pro paganism or like demons either. They're still like very biblical in nature. Like a lot of these old like occultists were still like Christians and of the
Right.
Abrahamic faiths. So it
Yeah.
is like those are kind of like a little piece of history themselves of like a time when it was morally okay for Christians to be dabbling in the dark arts, if you will.
Yeah, there was a lot of overlap, and I think like modern Christians today don't really realize that, like
Hmm.
historically, like how much overlap and, and dabbling there was. Like it was very much a part of the culture. Like
Yeah.
to be a Christian and still like do your witchy stuff on the side.
Hmm. Yeah. And like, oh yeah, and like Reese made this joke because so like in that uh sacred magic of Abramelin the Mage book or whatever, uh like there's a ritual in that talks about how to call upon your like guardian angel or whatever, and it involves like fasting for like a month or something. And Ree was like, the reason why they actually saw angels and stuff is because they were probably just dying.
Right? Like they were uh
Dying of
hungry.
like
They were just very,
starvation.
very hungry. Yeah.
Right? But
Yeah.
also, it's like if you so much as look at a woman, you're not gonna be able to do magic.
And
Cause like,
you know they were probably doing substances back then too,
yeah,
eating
off in the
plants.
desert,
Yeah,
yeah, they're doing
eating
the
weird plants and shit.
doing the ayahuasca in the desert type thing.
Everybody was seeing angels back then.
Yeah, and yeah, and that's another like. I kind of make fun of the older ceremonial practitioners because like in the Lesser Key of Solomon, there's this sigil that's used to like bind demons or whatever, and it's
Hmm.
like you can only the sigil only works if you haven't been with a woman in like a month, and you have to like and you have to draw the sigil out in like the blood of a rooster that has also never been with a woman.
Been with a woman. How do you know that? You just like keep them in a cage, I guess,
I suppose.
or you ask him, "Have you been with a woman in the last month?" No nut November.
Yeah, permanently. If you want to do your magic, you can't. You can't
You
do
can't
the
nut.
hanky panky. Yeah. So I yeah, it's some of the stuff like is very silly to me, honestly.
Me too. It's fun to talk about though.
Mhm. I think it's still pretty on topic because, like, the Book of Enoch is more so, and nowadays is also used by like occultists as a text. I haven't really figured out how they use it, but it is a nice piece of information. As
Yeah.
long as like you don't go too deep, because like the final like book in Enoch is like Enoch's advice and warnings for his children and future generations on good and evil, which just starts rambling and ranting about
Yeah.
people, about the impurities of people. At that point, I just skimmed it and I was like, yeah, I've gotten what I need out of here.
That's kind of how I feel about the Bible as a Christian is like I think as long as you don't take it too literally because like the way that I was raised was like we literally believed everything in the Bible. Like everything was historically factual, everything, actually happened in the order that it's read in the Bible. And it wasn't until I was 30 that I started questioning that because I'm just like, you can't, whenever you read it, like you kind of apply your own understanding and experiences whenever you read anything. And it
Oh,
just
yeah.
doesn't make sense to read it literally. So like I just my family still does that. Like my dad still reads it literally, and I'm just like, how? How can you
Yeah.
not see all the problems with that? But but yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. Yeah, don't you know that, a talking snake slid over to a woman once?
Yeah, like that was the craziest part for me is like Adam and
Mhm.
Eve, like they literally think that happened, but it's
Yeah.
like
And it technically wasn't even a snake, it was a quote unquote serpent, and it actually had legs. God's punishment for the snake was taking away its legs.
please tell me someone painted that. There's got to be a
I'm sh-
painting of that
yeah,
somewhere.
I'm sure it's out there. Me and Ree, sometimes we watch old Bible cartoons because we think they're funny. And
Yeah,
there was one where it had legs and it was just like, but it walked on two legs like a person. It was very weird.
like a furry is like a
Yeah.
scaly.
So what you're saying is a furry went into the Garden of Eden and
A
tempted
snake with legs.
And
Yeah.
tempted Eve with the forbidden fruit. But back on the topic of like myth literalism. But yeah, like, cuz I do believe in a lot of like the spirits and stuff.
Hmm.
And I'll read their lore, but like I said, I don't take it literally as something that actually happened. In context with communicating with the spirits, I will treat it as something they've perhaps experienced. It's a very weird kind of mindset, but uh yeah, I don't believe in a lot of the things as if they've actually happened. Though I will like read them to take away like the lessons and stuff
Hmm.
or just to know more about what that spirit might be like.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
what's crazy to me is like I've met other Christians that like they have so much anxiety over literalism,
Mhm.
like it's something that people like causes people a lot of distress. Like when they read the book of Revelation, they're like, this is all gonna happen, and like, they have so much fear and anxiety over it. But I'm like, you can't read it like that. Like
Mhm.
it's just not
Yeah.
healthy.
Yeah, I find it really sad too because I was very depressed and anxious until I found my personal spiritual beliefs, and I've only found like joy in it. I'm a very strong perpetuator of like, your religion should bring you comfort and joy. I
Yeah.
mean, it can be I feel like depending on what you're practicing, it can be a little stressful because I will say, uh sometimes, especially if you are working and doing like magic stuff, but ultimately you shouldn't be afraid of what you're
Yeah.
doing or what you believe in.
Yeah. Like if you feel that way, you definitely should reevaluate. Okay, is this for me? Like should I be doing this?
Hmm. Like I've probably mentioned before, but like, coming from a Catholic upbringing, I was actually quite terrified of demons and stuff. Be
Yeah.
becoming Yeah, becoming possessed by the devil.
That part of the last the portion of the podcast that you did previously, like a couple months back, that part
Mhm.
was really interesting for me. I really enjoyed listening to that part because I was
Oh.
like I'm just imagining you like with a Ouija board, like terrified.
But yeah, so yeah, I used to be like petrified of that kind of stuff, and it made my OCD really bad. But
Hmm.
it wasn't until I started getting interested in the demonic and witchcraft, and then I started involving myself with that, despite my fears. I'm spiteful. I'm if I want to do something, I'm gonna do it no matter what. But I, you know, and I will say, starting out, I was still a little bit fearful, but it was something. It was kind of exposure therapy where I knew I had to work through it, so I'd no longer be afraid. And now I'm in a much better place than I am now, and I still just think it's very sad when people are, you know, live in that fear of their beliefs.
I feel like it's always 10 times worse when you're neurodivergent. I know
Yeah.
that was a big thing for me. Like I
Mhm.
don't have OCD, but like I feel like sometimes I have tendencies to hyper focus on negativity. And like
Mhm.
growing up in the church, like there were a lot of things that gave me constant anxiety about, like, you're always having to check, like, what you say and how you act around certain people, and like, how you present yourself when you go out in the world and stuff. And it
Mhm.
was just, I'm already not a very social person, so it just like they always made it feel like it was my fault that, like, like I'm not doing enough, or I'm not, praying enough or whatever. It's so much
Mhm.
anxiety inducing.
Yeah, and I get that. And I feel like even like deconstructing from Christianity and like for me like converting to something else, I feel like I still have a lot of that like Catholic guilt that's just ingrained in you
That's the
because
right word. Yeah, guilt.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, because I'll still be like, if I skip out on cuz I'm also neurodivergent, so I'll forget, I'll if I slack off and like, I don't say certain prayers, or if I don't meditate in a while or do my yoga or
Mhm.
even just communicate with the spirits I worship and work with, I do start feeling bad, but it's something I have to like unwork, like deconstruct from, because it's okay if I can't do
Right.
something. Yeah.
You're like, "Oh, they hate me now."
Literally, I'm like, oh, I'm terrible. Everyone hates me. And that's another thing, because a lot of Christians have that, like, they instill the fear of God into you, and it's like you shouldn't be afraid.
Absolutely.
You shouldn't be
Mhm.
afraid of your deity. And I feel like if this, and also just instilling that kind of like idea of a certain kind of hatred. I don't know if that's the right word.
It's so backhanded because it's like,
Yeah,
"Oh, God loves you, but don't mess up or he's going to kill you."
yeah, it's that. And I also find that very depressing because
Mhm.
if you have this idea of like your god is suddenly gonna hate you, and because you make like a tiny mistake or something, find a new god. Like,
Yeah.
it's a very toxic mindset.
Well, and I've learned too that a lot of that rhetoric is from churches and not necessarily from scripture, or like,
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
following Jesus and stuff, like,
Hmm.
because Jesus wasn't like that. I mean, like, he
Yeah.
did flip some tables, but like,
I love table flipping Jesus.
me too. Me too. But like, it's not this, like, it shouldn't, like you said, it shouldn't cause you that much anxiety. But I feel like churches have used that to like keep people in line and like keep
Hmm.
people loyal to the church.
Mm. Yeah. Like in the more like pagan mindset, I do personally believe like um there is like a connection type thing involved. I personally believe people should actually have a relationship with their deities instead of like a
Yeah,
hands-off approach. And I don't
definitely.
like And I don't like how the modern church goes about, like, oh, you're not allowed to try and communicate with God. If you do, that's the devil.
Yeah, I've noticed that's very prevalent in Catholicism specifically.
Hmm.
Like, not that it can't happen in other denominations, but like, it is a hands off kind of approach where it's like you have to do everything through a priest. Like, you have to go to confession,
Hmm.
you have to ask permission from, your priest before you do anything, or like, it's odd. It's very odd.
Yeah, and in
Because that's not even, sorry, that's not even
oh
like
no.
what Jesus taught either. So I don't know where they got that from other than like controlling people. But like, you
Hmm.
can go to Jesus directly. You don't have to go, or go to God directly. You don't have to like go through
Hmm.
a priest. But anyway, what were
Yeah.
you going to say?
Oh, like in my own belief and practice, we have this saying. I've probably mentioned it before, but it's one I really stand by. Is if you have if you're a part of like a church or even like a witchcraft coven or something, if there's someone that's telling you that only they can speak to your god and you can't speak to your god, that's not a community, that's a cult.
Right, exactly. No, that's how I feel too. That's
Yeah.
pretty accurate.
Yeah, because I feel like having like a connection with whatever deity you worship is I oh, what was I gonna say? I feel like it's just gives you a stronger connection to your faith and everything like that.
Absolutely. Last thing I was gonna say about the church stuff, while I'm thinking about it, before it leaves, so that's part of the reason why I left the church that I was a part of for 30 some odd years. Just
Mhm.
because the leader of that network of churches, like, people claimed that like only he could hear God on things. That's why he was the leader. So it kind of was becoming cultish, where it's like, oh, he makes all the
Mm.
decisions, oh, we need to go to him and ask him if this is a good idea. Like, it's crazy, dude. Like, I could get into it, but I'm not going to. But like, people would ask him if they should marry people, like certain people should get married or whatever, or
Oh,
like,
that's
I know,
sketchy. That's
I know,
cultish.
or like how they should raise their kids. Like, he was super against like homeschooling and stuff, and would only
Oh.
allow leaders to send their kids to public school so they'd have social skills to serve the church, basically. And
Oh.
it's, yeah, it was a whole thing. But anyways, that's why I left. I was like, this seems sus. I'm getting
This is
out of
getting
here.
weird. Yeah. Oh, I don't blame you. It's good that you know when to jump ship.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like because it's like way too easy. Like people like to believe like they wouldn't fall for like a cult or cult like tactic, but it is pretty easy to fall into. You gotta just stay
Especially,
vigilant.
absolutely, especially if you were raised in it. Like, you don't
Yeah.
you don't really realize, like, that's just what we always did. So like,
Mhm.
I never questioned it until, well, a lot of things happen. But
Yeah.
yeah, people that say that, I'm like, you don't know. Like,
You
they
don't know.
they manipulate you by like using your emotions, and like,
Mhm.
if you have tragedy in your life, they use that vulnerability to their advantage.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah,
kind of
it's
just a gradual thing.
yeah, it's kind of why I like focus on being more of a I do like the isolated witchcraft. What's the term? I'm very
Independent.
independent. I'm not very interested in getting involved with like local witch or pagan communities because I'm like it's so easy for things to go south really fast.
understandable. I tried joining a Christian witch subreddit. That was a mistake.
Oh, yeah.
I know Reddit in general is a mistake, but like
Yeah.
people were just super mean in there. Like
Yeah.
just really judgmental.
Yeah, I will say, like, a lot of the witch pagan, like, with, like, Discord servers I join and everything, a lot of the book ones are really nice and friendly, like, strictly, like, author type areas, writer places, super friendly. You join the witch one, like, the witchy ones, everyone's just mean and ready to, like, throw down.
Yeah, for real, they really are. Did we go off topic?
A little bit. Do you have any more questions about, like, the Book of Enoch or any of that kind of stuff? Oh, I was gonna say, like, on the topic of, like, joining local communities and stuff, there's still, like, a stigma around demons and stuff, even in witchcraft communities. So I also just tend to keep to myself because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember you
but
mentioning like people don't want to admit or was that a different community where like people don't want to admit that some demons like come from Abrahamic religions.
yeah, no, that was definitely with like paganism and stuff because a lot of people do try to. It's like they want to worship and work with demons, especially ones like Lilith and Lucifer, and
Mhm.
then they don't want to treat them like demons. Like they try to remove themselves from their origins. Even though
Mhm.
I could, the origins of like Lucifer and it could be its own video, so I won't get into that. It goes deep and there's a lot of stuff there. But yeah, and other demons too. They'll be like they're all like demonized pagan gods, but not all of them are, and that's okay.
Yeah. As for questions at this point, I feel like you explaining or breaking down like the different parts of the book helps me kind of understand like what it's talking about without like going into depth because I always wondered like well is it just like his adventures or like like
The
what
Adventures of Enoch.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
like I guess my only question is like what led up to like him being ascended.
that is
I,
also a good question.
I just remembered you said like you kind of stopped like
Yeah,
reading the
cause
ranty stuff.
yeah, it's the ascension was an ascension into madness, apparently. Um, cause yeah, I did just skim the ending because it did just become it like became like too hateful for me to really
Mm,
be comfortable with reading it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Can handle like a good amount of stuff, but it just like it did feel like it was devolving into just like a ramble, and I'm like, I don't know. Um, there is like a like theory or the idea behind Enoch being the only or one of the only humans that actually did ascend and become an angel,
Yeah, that
which
that was something I was gonna ask about. Isn't it? Is it Metatron?
yeah, yeah. He
Yeah,
yeah, he supposedly became Metatron.
because I was talking to Ree a little bit about
Mhm.
Metatron because I had no idea that that was even a thing, and I was like, what
Yeah.
is that? Is that like a transformer? Like, what is that? Kind of
Is
sounds
a
like a transformer.
It is a very unfortunate name, but like even translated it literally is just Metatron. Um but yeah, he supposedly Enoch ascended and became Metatron, and I believe, I don't know if this is official or just theory, or like I don't know where the idea comes from, but his brother became the angel Sandalphon. But I don't. You'll have to talk to Ree about that kind of stuff.
Okay. But like you don't know like why he became an angel or why he was ascended?
Not necessarily. I think just because he was like a prophet. I think it's one
Mm.
of those kind of just one of those chosen one type ideas.
He was special.
He was a special. He got to
Special
he
boy.
yeah yeah he because I believe to my knowledge he was one of those dudes that would like go off on his own to communicate with God a
Hmm.
lot, and he eventually got got the VIP treatment of getting to tour heaven and going to heaven and meeting the angels, and then he eventually instead of perishing in the flood he got yoinked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, some of it I still my knowledge is a little spotty on, but I feel like that's the nature of a lot of this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say though, I am a Watcher Angel defender. I am a Watcher Angel apologist.
It's definitely interesting.
Samyaza did nothing wrong. But
Yeah, I've
yeah.
I've heard people talk about like I can't remember his name, but like who people think like Satan was. Like there's so much confusion on like people think Beelzebub and Lucifer and Satan are all the same being,
Mhm.
but they're not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's when I was oh, Edward. When I was first starting in on this stuff, that was like very interesting for me to learn about. Because, yeah, originally all of these different demons were their own entities. And then, like, as Christianity evolved and stuff, they just kind of compiled them all into one dude
They were just
for
like,
some reason.
he's all bad. All of his names.
Yeah. He,
Which doesn't make any
he's,
sense, like with the lore and
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. It's like, well, why is he why does he have so many names? Why does he need all those names? But yeah, they were all originally like different demons, and then everyone's just like, well, maybe there's just one devil.
Yeah, super weird.
Yeah. And it still happens today. Some people just really want to conflate like two deities as being the same, not even just like demons. There's like there's this weird it happens a lot with goddesses. I don't know why, but a lot of like pagans want to believe all the women are one woman.
Hmm, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're everyone because I feel like people are moving away from that because it is a little bit disrespectful for the various like cultures these different goddesses come from. But yeah, there was a pretty prevalent belief that they're like all these goddesses are just one woman.
Speaking of women, I recently found out that God has a wife in
Yeah, Shira?
Judaism, I think. Yeah,
Yeah,
Asherah. Yeah.
yeah.
And is referenced in the Bible, but I remember like when I was growing up, whenever like her name came up, everybody just kind of glossed over it like, "Oh, I
They're
don't know
like,
what that is."
there is no wife in Bossing Say.
They would just like be like, "Oh, they're talking about something else. Like it's not important." And then I find
Yeah,
out, "Oh, it's actually God's wife." Okay.
yeah.
Kind of
I
important.
yeah, I believe there's a book. called When God Had a Wife. You might want to check out. I haven't personally read it, so I can't attest to it, but I have had Christian witches recommend it if you want to learn about her.
It's kind of weird that like they removed her too. It's like why?
Yeah. It's like, why can't God have a wife?
I guess cuz it's a man's world. I don't know.
Yeah, I do. I mean, it would be kind of like having, well, actually, I think the reasoning is because she started having like worshipers. She was started becoming like popular as someone to
Mm,
worship. And I think because, Christianity really wanted to lean more into being a monotheistic religion of having only one God.
yeah.
Um, Even though I could argue that the devil might make it, might, uh, there's some gray area there, I feel. But, yeah, because I believe, because, if you're like, oh yeah, we only have one God, but God also has a wife who is a goddess,
That makes
technically.
sense. Yeah, they were like,
Yeah,
"Oh, we don't want to be polytheistic, so we're not going to worship her too."
yeah.
Even
And
though
plus
like polytheism was super common back then.
yeah, even though there is like the theory on like, when a religion does have like a mostly male like god, uh it can lend it to be more easily misogynistic.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was
So
thinking of.
so having a goddess that, would be above human men kind of probably leaves a foul taste in some people's mouths.
Yeah, that makes sense. This has been a very juicy video though. Like I
Yes, I'm
definitely
glad.
I feel like we definitely covered a lot of things that we're both interested in, but I had been wondering about.
And talk about the character development of myself because I didn't start ranting and raving.
No, you
But
did great.
okay, I have in the past, because like I said, I'm very passionate about the Watchers. I have been very defensive over them before, but we didn't necessarily. We just started going off about the church again. I didn't necessarily. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm becoming more mature.
I was trying not to focus too much on my experiences also, but like only when it was relevant to like what we were talking about.
Same,
But
same. Because I also have like a lot of experiences, and like because I wanted to keep the topic more on the actual like texts and stuff rather than my own personal experiences with like working with Samyaza and stuff.
yeah, no, it was
Yeah.
good.
But yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you for having me on the video.
Yeah, of course. We need to do this more often because it's fun.
Yeah, yeah. I'm always up for yapping about religion.
I'm gonna link Vesper's info and channel down below, and you can check them out. And thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.